The morning of April 18th, 1906, began like any other in San Francisco. The city sea stirred with early risers, streetcars rattling down Market Street, merchants opening their shops, children playing in alleyways. But beneath the bustling streets, deep within the San Andreas fault, a slow, malevolent tension was building. And when it broke, the world as they knew it shook violently. At 5:12 a.m., the earth erupted. Buildings swayed, streets cracked, and the cries of the terrified echoed through the city. For 45 seconds that felt like an eternity, the ground roared and buckled. Entire neighborhoods, made mostly of unreinforced masonry, collapsed like sandcastles before the tide. Roofs caved in, chimneys toppled, and the very foundations of the city splintered. People clung to whatever they could, witnessing walls twist in impossible angles, glass shattering like thunder, and the streets themselves cracking and heaving like a living organism. Some survivors would later describe seeing shadowy figures wandering amidst the chaos, ghostly silhouettes moving in the smoke and dust. Were they spirits? Or just the eyes of the terrified perceiving what their minds could not comprehend? In the chaos, fires erupted. Gas lines ruptured, igniting flames that quickly spread across the wooden buildings. Firefighters, who might have been heroes on any other day, were powerless. The city's broken water mains had left them stranded. The fires consumed entire neighborhoods, turning streets into rivers of molten chaos. For many, the quake alone would not have killed them, but the inferno that followed claimed lives by the thousands. Estimates suggest around 3,000 people perished that day, though the exact number may never be known. And while the living scrambled to survive, the dead left their mark on the city, some say in ways that can still be felt today. Chinatown, at the heart of the city, was particularly devastated. Many bodies were never recovered, trapped beneath rubble or incinerated by the relentless fire. Over the years, stories emerged of strange apparitions wandering its rebuilt streets. Shadows flitting across alleyways, whispers calling out in languages long silenced, the feeling of being watched when no one was there. Residents would swear that late at night, footsteps echoed from empty alleys, doors creaked open by unseen hands, and faint flickers of light appeared in the windows of abandoned buildings. Some claimed the ghosts of laborers who had died in the rubble never left, still tending to a city that had passed them by. As the city began to rebuild, more legends arose. Nob Hill, once a neighborhood of grandeur and opulence, became the setting of reports about a figure in 1900s attire, standing in the windows of burned-out mansions. Witnesses claimed the figure stared silently before vanishing into thin air. Even the grand hotels of the rebuilt city, the Fairmont, among them, harbored tales of objects moving on their own, doors slamming shut without cause, and cold spots that would cause shivers in even the most skeptical guest. The stories were not confined to the old city alone. Market Street, the bustling commercial heart, reportedly became a corridor of phantom activity. Shopkeepers and passers-by alike described shadows darting across walls, indistinct figures glimpsed in the corners of their vision, and the sensation of being followed by unseen presences. Psychologists and paranormal investigators would later suggest that such sightings were manifestations of trauma, the city itself haunted by the collective grief and panic of thousands who had suffered unimaginable loss. Others, however, believed the hauntings were real, a spiritual imprint left by those who had died violently and suddenly, their unrest etched into the very streets and buildings that survived. The earthquake did not discriminate. Wealthy or poor, native-born or immigrant, everyone felt its fury. Yet in the aftermath, it was often the most vulnerable who were claimed first, Laborers buried beneath collapsing buildings, children trapped in their homes, immigrants struggling to find their footing in a foreign land suddenly brought to ruin. Stories of these victims persisted, passed down through generations, forming the spine of the city's haunted lore. Some survivors would recount seeing the dead standing among the living, silent witnesses to a city they had loved, now reduced to ash and rubble. Even decades later, the city's haunted nature seemed to persist. Investigators exploring basements and old tunnels beneath Chinatown would report sudden drops in temperature, inexplicable noises, and fleeting shadows that vanished the moment they were confronted. Ghost tours, a modern industry in San Francisco, highlight these areas, allowing visitors to walk the streets where tragedy struck, hearing stories of the earthquake and the phantoms said to linger. Some say that by walking these streets at night, one can feel the presence of those who never made it out, their sorrow and fear embedded in the very bricks and stones. The earthquake, for all its historical significance, became more than a natural disaster. It left a spiritual scar, a wound in the city's history that never fully healed. Even today, construction crews occasionally uncover human remains beneath streets thought long settled. Paranormal enthusiasts interpret these discoveries as evidence that the city's unrest is far from over. Those who walk the streets of San Francisco at night report cold spots, disembodied whispers, and the sense that someone or something is watching. Yet amid the terror, the city showed resilience. San Francisco rose from its ashes, rebuilding block by block, district by district. Streets that were once rivers of flame became centers of commerce and culture again. But the ghosts remained. They remained not as malevolent forces, but as testaments to the lives lost and the horrors endured. The shadows in the alleys, the whispers in the tunnels, the glimpses of figures in old windows. These are the city's way of remembering, a constant reminder that history never truly dies. Walking through Nob Hill, the financial district, or old Chinatown, one can feel the presence of the past. A shiver down the spine, the faint echo of footsteps, the impression of a figure standing just beyond the corner of vision. Some say it's the city's way of telling its story, a reminder that tragedy has a voice, and sometimes that voice lingers far longer than the living. San Francisco's 1906 earthquake was not only a test of engineering and human resilience, it was a test of spirit, a collision of life and death that continues to reverberate through the city's streets. The buildings that survived still carry whispers of those lost. The streets themselves, rebuilt and repopulated, hold an energy that cannot be explained by science alone. The hauntings, the legends, and the shadows are reminders that while the city moves forward, its past is never truly gone. And perhaps that is the most terrifying part, that in a city known for its fog and hills, one may walk along a familiar street, glance into a shop window, and for just a moment see someone or something watching from another time, another place, another life. The San Francisco earthquake of 1906 was more than a disaster. It was a haunting etched into the city forever. And for those who dare to explore its streets at night, the echoes of that day, the fear, the chaos, the lives lost, still linger, waiting to be remembered.